Coming up on Locked On NBA Daily, the Lakers are being sold for the second time in 18 months. What's going on in Lakerland? Meanwhile, the Warriors GM raises some eyebrows with his comments about Steph Curry's future, and the Memphis Grizzlies begin a new era after Ja Morant. Locked On NBA Daily starts now.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily. I'm Wes Goldberg, that's Matt Moore and Haize. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all of the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer this MLB season. We have a jam-packed show for you on a Wednesday afternoon. The Warriors general manager is raising some eyebrows with his comments about Steph's future, and the Memphis Grizzlies get set to begin the Cameron Boozer era. But let's start with the breaking news from this morning, guys. It was reported that the Lakers are being sold again, this time for $12 billion to a group led by Bob Iger and Joshua Kushner. Iger was the former CEO for Disney. Kushner is a venture capitalist guy. This is surprising, I think, at least for two reasons. Number one, the Lakers were just sold to Mark Walter 18 months ago for $10 billion, and Iger and Kushner were apparently in the mix, and this is the second reason, to buy the Las Vegas expansion team before, according to Ramona Shelburne over at ESPN, pivoting last second to this Lakers purchase. Matt, what stands out to you about all of this?
It's weird. All of this is weird.
It's weird.
It's just weird. Ramona Shelburne reported this morning on ESPN Radio that the deal came together in a matter of days. That's relatively shocking. Mark
like
Walter,
all $12 billion deals, right?
Yeah, just threw one together. Mark Walter was going to bring like the Dodgers approach to the Lakers. He was going to invest so much and overhaul everything, and Lakers fans were so excited. And nobody knows what this means. Bob Iger has been after an NBA team for a long time, but couldn't do it in part because of the conflict of interest as the head of Disney. He did step down. There's been a lot of confusion about that. Like he stepped down as CEO of Disney, stayed on as a consultant through March, but now he's free and clear to go ahead and pursue this deal. The connections with Josh Kushner obviously are really fascinating. His wife is Carly Cross, who's good friends with Taylor Swift. So there you go. There's another side angle to it, as well as obviously Josh's more famous brother. It's a weird deal, and I don't know what it means for the Lakers. I don't know what this means for Jeannie Buss. I don't know what this means for Rob Pelinka. I don't know what this is going to mean for anything, but it is very weird to me, the timing of this, the way this went down in the light of a number of things. Like there's all these little bits of information that I can't really piece together I have no idea. Like I'm just like spitting facts here. Mark Walter's phone was seized in an FBI investigation last fall. There's been no follow-up on that investigation. I have no idea what that means. Does that have anything to do with this? Probably not. I have no idea. Hey, this is weird. It's weird. The whole thing's weird.
I mean, yeah, the situation is weird in of itself. Like you have a historic NBA franchise sold twice in 18 months. That's never happened before. The 10 billion, 12 billion, like it's a lot of money being thrown around. But specifically Bob Iger, who notoriously retired from working at Disney, had to go back because the CEO who took over was so terrible, just recently retired again from there, and now is finally on to the venture. Like you said, he's been wanting to buy an NBA team for a while, so now he's here. The more interesting part of this to me is that what this does mean for the Las Vegas potential extension team. Like there's always going to be somebody in Vegas who's willing to own the team. So if the NBA wants to expand in Vegas, there'll be somebody that'll make it happen. But it's just a weird set of circumstances in the way that it's all unfolded for the Lakers in the last 18 months.
So one point of information that I should have mentioned in the open here, Mark Walter, I almost said Chuck Walter, is the host of Locked On Warriors. I hope he's not under investigation, but I don't know. Mark Walter.
Chuck probably should be.
If you know Chuck.
He probably should be.
He thought they were a championship team last fall, so yeah, he definitely should be under the door.
Mark Walter is under federal investigation for alleged tax fraud by his other companies that he's tied to. This guy made a lot of money in insurance. He's also the owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are very expensive, right? And according to the latest reporting, isn't giving up any part of the Dodgers. So this is a guy under federal investigation for tax fraud, might need to get liquid fast. I don't know that it certainly seems not to be like a planned sale for Walter. I don't think when he bought the Lakers, he was planning to flip them like some sort of real estate investment, which is what this kind of feels like, right? But this is a guy under investigation by the federal government for tax fraud, and he just cleared almost $2 billion, having maybe be forced to selling this team, at the risk of speculation. That's certainly kind of what it feels like here, Matt.
I have no idea if that has anything to do with this. Walter suffered a stroke in 2024, and there have been reports of concerns from investors about his ability to lead the company. But like Arash Markazi, who knows a lot of people in LA, reported this morning that like they had started bringing the Lakers and Dodgers under one roof. They started sharing sponsorship deals and analytics and all these type of things. And now you have to unwind that.
Yeah.
There's nothing about this that seems planned. There's nothing about this that seems like Mark Walter was like, yeah, I'm going to buy the Lakers and then flip them. I don't know what happened, but it does seem like this sale was agreed to in a rush. And I don't know if that's a good thing for the league. Haize, I'm getting a little bit concerned also about like, what is the oversight currently for the league in these ownership deals? Because between Tom Dundon, the Mavericks in general, and everything else, I have a little bit of concern, and honestly, the Celtics as well. I have a little bit of concern here about what's going on with ownership in the NBA. It seems very unstable right now.
Well, what is the oversight? Because, yes, I know the NBA franchise, they have a say, but like each franchise is still its own privately owned company. Like I don't know how much oversight the NBA really can have if you want to sell your franchise. They can't stop you from selling your franchise.
It has to be agreed upon, right?
It has to be agreed upon. Board of Governors has to agree upon the sale because like otherwise you could just have. They would let any sort of riffraff in.
They wouldn't. They wouldn't let me and you own an NBA team.
Well, you guys don't have
episodes
$12
locked on
billion.
NBA. They say no way. That's not happening.
You guys don't have $12 billion to put together, not especially after Haize just
Don't
built a new studio.
count Matt's pockets. You don't know what type of money Matt has.
It's true. But that's certainly that helps, right? With this entire situation is like, hey, Tom Dundon's going to come and increase the value of the Portland Trailblazers, but with this valuation, the Lakers. They increased their valuation by $2 billion in 18 months, and that makes the Board of Governors be like, yeah, that's cool with me because we're going to get a check cut after all of this because expansion, Haize, to go back to your point, this relates to expansion in some way. Number one, obviously, like we talked about already, Iger and Kushner were in line to maybe be the finalists for this Vegas team. They change last minute to this Lakers investment. Now, is that because they figured we're not getting the Las Vegas team? Somebody else is going to come in and going to outbid us? Are they going to outbid us by more than $12 billion, which is what we're paying for the Lakers? And if that's the case, maybe all of this is just driving this Las Vegas team price up, which means that expansion is either going to happen or maybe the other side of this is maybe, I don't know, Matt, like, again, recklessly speculating here, but like, are we sure expansion is happening?
So the NBA expected fee is in the billions anyway. So, like, if you're having to spend all this money to buy an expansion team and your option is to buy the Los Angeles Lakers.
Right.
You buy the Lakers.
You buy the Lakers.
You buy the
100%.
Lakers.
So I think that's probably where we kind of get to here. I'm just like a little unsure. Does this set back expansion talks? Is that like the result here? Because like
I have a trouble believing that the NBA won't find people to bid on owning a team in Vegas of all places. Like I think the biggest hump for owning a team in Vegas was betting. If that's solved, I don't think they'll have a problem. Somebody's gonna.
What if we don't do expansion though, Haize? Because there's already been talk about moving a couple of franchises. Do we expand into the Vegas and Seattle markets without diluting the league at some point? And obviously, and for the owners, what they care about is the share of the revenue, right?
Yeah.
Is there a way that, there's conversations going on with Portland right now? Is Tom Dundon going to keep the team there? Teams like New Orleans are sort of in limbo. Like, that's where my mind goes. I understand, by the way, that I'm recklessly speculating here.
No. That's fair, especially if you have teams that are willing to move. That's definitely, and then you don't have to worry about expansion. It's definitely a fair conversation to have. But like with Adam Silver already saying that because if I'm not mistaken, they've already voted on expansion, right? And they agreed to, or Adam Silver said that they will be soon.
They agreed to start taking on investment proposals for it.
So. I don't know, it seems like that's already been the groundwork has been laid out. We kind of already know the teams that would be moving to the Eastern Conference. If we have two expansion teams, you're keeping the league even. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. You can it's a conversation to be had either way on it, to be honest with you. I don't think you can shut down either side that expansion may not be coming, or that this could be setting up to where it's going to be a higher buy-in for the expansion team.
Does this, I guess, like an interesting question is like, does this cost the, I don't know, it's an interesting question. I don't really care. But like, does this cost the owners an expansion fees if they can't get the fee that they were expecting from Iger and Kushner, right? Because like the fees were expected to be in the 7 to 10 billion range.
Mm-hmm.
If it's on the lower end of that now, because one of the major offers now goes, or does the Lakers price jack up the price for the expansion offer to now it's like you have to pay 14 billion.
Right. Or, whatever it is, right? Does it just move the price up in some way? There feels like there's a lot more reporting that needs to be done here. One last point that I do want to make. Luka Doncic is now playing for his third majority owner since getting traded to the Lakers. I just find that interesting after a new owner took over Dallas and greenlit the trade to the Lakers. I'm not saying anything other than that.
Outside of the billionaire stuff, I think the most interesting question here is it's about Plinka. Like that's the most interesting question here is like, so Jeannie had some sort of handshake agreement to stay as the board, as the BOG governor.
Well, according to Mark Stein, it was a written agreement.
Sorry. Mark Cuban's was handshake
Yeah.
written. Is that negated? Is that hold up now? Is she still?
I mean, they did mention her in the release that they took over the team. So
yeah, for sure. Is she still going to be running? Because as long as she's running things, I don't.
There are already some talk that even before this happened that she may have been starting to lose power within the Lakers. So
you would expect that, but maybe does this help her? I don't know.
It's like a game of telephone, right? Like every time a new ownership changes, like the message is just a little bit different each time. A lot more to monitor there with the Lakers. Meanwhile, we're going to go up the state of California and talk about the Golden State Warriors. Their general manager, Mike Dunleavy Jr., could have dodged a question about Steph Curry's future, and instead he didn't do that, raising some eyebrows from Warriors fans. We're going to talk about that next. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Daily is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with Daily Dingers. It's easy to play. You just make a free pick for who you think is going to hit a home run in their game, and if you're right, you're going to receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick with Daily Dingers every day throughout the Major League Baseball season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep, and now you get a chance to make your prediction before the first pitch. Sometimes it's a hitter who's been on a hot streak, or maybe it's a favorable pitching matchup. Maybe there's a game happening in a ballpark that tends to give up a bunch of home runs. Those are always the first things that I look at before making my Daily Dingers pick. Are you ready to play your game today? Join all of the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of Major League Baseball. Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily, the best way to support the show. Subscribe on YouTube. We are Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts. Warriors general manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. held a virtual press conference with Bay Area reporters on Tuesday to talk about a quiet offseason there in Golden State, and his answer to a question about whether he expects Steph Curry to finish his career with the Warriors raised some eyebrows. Quote, ultimately, it's his call, his decision, whether that's allowing his contract to run out and move on. Look, if he comes to me and wants to be moved, Joe Lacob and I will talk it through. We wouldn't love it, but he's earned the right to do what he wants. But as far as the messaging or any idea that he's going to be anywhere else, that's not a thing that we're looking at or he's looking at, end quote. Haize, his answer has been making the rounds on social media. Maybe it's been a little overblown, but what do you make of it?
I mean, I think it's the answer that makes sense. Like, I mean, it's the clear answer. It may be the safe answer, but it's the clear one. They should want to keep Steph as long as he wants to be there. The question that I have isn't about keeping Steph or wanting to extend Podge or anything like that. Like, what are you going to do to make it worth it? Because like over the last 24 hours, we've heard that they're interested in bringing in like Dalen Terry and Ben Simmons. Sure, that's a great team to put around. That's exactly what Steph needs for his last championship run. That's my biggest question. Keeping Steph is, it's academic at this point. You should absolutely give him whatever he wants to stay there. But what are you going to do to make it worth him staying? That's a bigger question.
I guess a better question is, do you have any reason to think that Steph's going to ask out ever, Haize?
No. He's shown no sign of it at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is this happens a lot. So I had to deal with this in Denver where Josh Kroenke basically said like, well, yeah, like we hope, God forbid, we do hope that injuries don't happen, that we're to force us into a position where we'd have to trade Nikola Jokic, and everyone freaked out. And I was like, but there are situations where you trade the guy. Like there's just situations where it's like, oh,
it
yeah,
makes more sense for you.
Like if somebody suffers a career-ending injury, but you're stuck with the contract and you can't compete, it's just like, okay, we can't compete with you, and you want out, so we will oblige you. Like you are obligated to take care of the player if he's that level. Anybody else they could screw over, and honestly, you could screw over anybody because Blake Griffin and the Clippers. But like, I just kind of feel like this is a nothing where they will trade Steph if he asks for it. Is he going to ask for it? No. So in the situation that won't happen, they would consider this thing. The more interesting quote, honestly, to me, Wes, was the one where he talked about, you have no idea all the trades that we tried to do and people said no. Like and I know that sounds like a bad excuse, but I honestly am kind of sympathetic to this, where I think people would be more shocked at the things that teams have turned down than what teams have actually talked about or been offered. I think teams will be shocked to know some of the deals that have been thrown out there and that people have been like, we don't feel good about it for various reasons.
I guess, Haize, but that feels to me like somebody sliding into somebody's DMs and be like, yeah, I asked out Rihanna. You know?
Listen, shoot your shot.
It sounds like Mike Dunleavy Jr. is just shooting his shot.
Yeah, I mean, listen, hey, shoot your shot. Like, why not at this point? Like, do your thing. I don't know what to say. Like,
I don't know how that, if you're a Warriors fan, how does that make you feel better, though, right? It's like, okay, cool. You tried to get LeBron. You didn't. Like, what do I care?
Yeah.
I think, so let's pivot this. I actually think there's a really interesting question attached to that kind of conversation. Do we need to, like, upgrade our understanding of Bob Myers here? Like Bob Myers already got like a lot of credit for that Warriors run, but everybody was like, it's Steph, and everybody was like, it's Lacob and the ownership and blah, blah, blah. Bob Myers has just built another super team in Philly.
Well, Bob Myers didn't draft Steph, did he?
No,
he didn't draft Steph.
No, so, but he made the decision to hire Kerr.
True.
I think he was there for getting Draymond.
Mm-hmm.
He put together he was there for the Iguodala deal.
Yeah. I mean, no, and that wasn't to say that he didn't make deals, but it's like, I do think that it's fair to question his draft history when you look at how it ended, but his ability to build a team, you can never deny.
He's not a good draft guy. I can attest to that, but he's very good at getting star players, right? Kevin Durant, right? Yeah. He was a big part of the group that brought KD to Golden State. To shift things back to the Warriors here, and I do think this idea of Steph finishing his career in Golden State, it's something that we've been talking about now for a couple of weeks. We have that report from Tim Kawakami, was it a week or two ago, about basically paraphrasing the messaging from Joe Lacob, saying like they're more that they're concerned about Steph's future, maybe more than the present. It had me thinking, like, should finishing his career with the Warriors be the Warriors' priority, right? Should Steph Curry finishing his career with the Warriors be the Warriors' priority at this point, or should it actually be what is after Steph Curry?
It's a good question. So we asked this question on Locked On Nuggets, okay? We asked this question of both our hosts and the fans. Would you rather have, let's say you got the option, you could win 2 more titles with Jokic, or after Jokic retires, you could win 4. So in the next 15 years, you win 4 titles after Jokic retires. Everyone said they would rather have the 2 with Jokic. I said I did not care. But that to me, I think is notable here, is that we do attach ourselves to these teams because of the players. You could be a fan of the team first and the players second, but something about the players is usually what makes you the fan of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think it's I think they have an obligation for what Steph has provided that franchise, because people do not remember the Warriors were a joke. They were a joke of a franchise before 2015. And Steph changed all of that. He is responsible for them being considered a serious franchise, no matter what Joe Lacob says.
Yeah. The Chase Center is the house that Steph built. Haize, what do you think?
No, I agree. So it's you should always be thinking about your future. You should always think about your future. But just because you're focused on maintaining the ability to your flexibility and your ability to improve in the future, it doesn't mean that you have to just jettison off parts of your past. And I think Steph is one of those players that's regardless, like pay Steph if he wants to stay, pay him. And, you're not giving up any future assets by keeping Steph Curry. Is the question that becomes about like, how much are you willing to give up? And I think in the long run, the long haul, past 20, I'd say any picks past 2028, you have to hold on to those. Between now and then, if you want to give up picks to get them, help try to build yourself a championship team, fine, do that.
But can you gain assets by trading Steph Curry? Because I think about the Celtics moving on from KG and Paul Pierce and that group, and they got the stuff that ended up turning into Tatum and Jaylen Brown and empowering.
That was also because the
Nets
were stupid.
Sure, but if you could find, I guess, right? Like, could you find a stupid taker? Not a stupid taker.
Nico Harrison's gone.
Awesome.
I'm trying to think what other team around the league would. It's Steph, right? So like, if they did make Steph available, there are going to be teams that are going to be willing to give a ton of assets. Like, there's going to be a bidding war if you were to make Steph available for sure. But I think if you trust your ability to draft, which I don't know if they do or not internally there, you could still set up your future fine without needing to stack a bunch, like the 2 first-round picks that you're going to get for Steph. And that's another thing. We're not seeing a lot of unprotected first be given up for players anymore. So even if you do give assets, it's probably not a bunch.
Guys, Giannis Antetokounmpo went for a pile, basically went for a buffet platter from Golden Corral. Like, he got nothing. They got him for just a bunch of stuff that wasn't very good.
There's a lot of context there, though, Matt. I mean, we were talking about, like, Giannis was up for the extension and all that stuff. Like, I'm saying if you operated from a different position with Steph.
But, like, my point here is I don't think the market's fungible, so it's not 1 for 1, right? My point here, though, is part of the conversation with Giannis was like, look, he's 32 and he's got all these injury issues. Yeah. What does it look like if it's not going to happen? It's not going to happen in the next, like, we don't think it's going to happen in the next 6 weeks. So we're talking about Steph at 38. At 38 years of age, there's not going to be a bidding war for him.
I got to disagree with that in this place, though, Matt. I think that Steph, when healthy, is an easier player to build around and a player that probably still impacts winning as much as Giannis, if not more, in some areas.
And he sells so many tickets, so any owner can greenlight that in a second. Just like, I don't care what it looks like on the court.
And you can say that they got nothing back for him, but they got Jaime Jaquez, who is regardless of what his future is, he's a player that can go out and get you 17, and the ability to flip him later. Like, he's not a bad NBA player. They got some young, interesting prospects to see what they could turn into. Kasparis, Khalil Ware, Jaime Jaquez. Those are some really good young players. They may not end up being great, but they are good young players.
Really good is a bit much. That's a bit much. But anyway, like, I think in this current structure, right? I get the extension part of it, Wes, but his current contract is not cheap either. Like, we're still
that's true.
And to your point, he's older. He's guaranteed to miss a month of every season, it feels like, with some kind of injury.
And it would have to be a team that, like, Steph, they're not going to trade Steph to the Magic, right? So it's going to be a team that Steph's like into, and that list has got to be tiny.
Makes a lot of sense for Charlotte.
I mean,
it does. It makes a lot of sense for Charlotte.
The Memphis Grizzlies are rebuilding. Meanwhile, post Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., we're going to try to make sense of their roster that they've built around Cameron Boozer after this. Thanks for making Locked On NBA Daily part of your daily routine and making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen every day. We're hopping back into the rotation lab, taking one team and building out its real opening night rotation. And today, we're talking about the Memphis Grizzlies. Haize, give us the starting 5, and I think this may be one of the harder ones that we've done so far.
It was pretty easy. The only one that I had a question about was who's going to start at point guard for them. That's the only position that, as far as the starting lineup, is it going to be Ty Jerome? Is it going to be Scottie Pippen Jr.? For the nature of this, I'm going to say Ty Jerome starts at the 1 for them. Cedric Howard at the 2, Jeremy Grant at the 3, Cameron Boozer at the 4, and Zach Edey at the 5. I think it was a pretty easy lineup for me to put together.
Yep. Okay.
Don't think
talk,
there's any. Don't
talk
think
us
there's
through the rotation, Matt.
I would prefer if Jeremy Grant came off the bench.
I agree, but I think they're going to try to trade him. I think they're going to, yeah.
He probably starts, which
feature him and trade him.
Is honestly not fair to Jalen Wells. It's just not fair. Jalen Wells is a good player who should have a bounce back season. Scottie Pippen Jr. and Walter Clayton Jr. off the bench, and the guard spots. Wells at the backup 3, Gigi Jackson at power forward, Isaiah Stewart at the backup 5. They do have a lot of talent in the small ball 4-5 combos, so they can go Taylor Hendricks. I'm really high on Omax Prosper. They just signed Quentin Post because they hate me. They've got all these guys that they can provide kind of these small ball options with. I got to tell you, I have been so annoyed with this Grizzlies team for how they've completely failed that iteration of Ja and Bane and Jaren. God, this team's going to be fun. Like, I'm going to watch so many of these games, and they're not going to win a lot, but God, they're going to be fun. There's so many great skill sets on this team. They just have like a lot of different guys that can do a lot of different stuff, and I'm very excited to see them. I think Cedric Howard is that guy. Like, I'm really excited for this team. And like Ty Jerome is honestly like he's an analytics darling, but he's awesome when he's on and he's healthy. I don't think this team's gonna be good, but God, are they gonna be fun.
Yeah, and you're going to get to see Cam Boozer from the start have everything go through him. Like, he's going to get to show every bit of his skill set between his ability to run the offense, play defense, score, rebound. Like, it's going to be so built around Cam Boozer's strengths. And I think, like, they're going to be in a really good spot to evaluate who's fitting with Cam and Cedric Howard, who's not, get him up out of here.
I'm not going to judge them on offensive rating because I'm not going to judge them off of whether they can shoot or not because this is a young team and execution is the problem. Here's what I do want to see, though. I want to see shot quality in terms of like what should they, like the expected value of the shots that they get. If Tuomas Asalo does not build an offense with Cameron Boozer and this level of talent where I'm like, this looks good. It looks right. If I don't watch them and feel like they're getting good looks, they just don't have the talent to convert, that guy's got to go. Because this team has enough for you to build a team that looks right, even if they don't execute and make the shots.
This might be an unfair question, Matt, but what is the team? What's a team that looks right, look like, built around Boozer?
I think a lot of it is going to be its versatility. I don't want to see them get stuck. One, I want to make sure that it's like, are you having interplay dynamics? We talked a lot about the isolation stuff being kind of the future of the league, but that doesn't really make the best of this, of what this roster can do. Right. So like, I want to see interplay with Boozer and Coward, and I want to see Wells spacing the floor. I want to see high-low action, high-low passing with Boozer and Edey. I want to be able to see like an inverted pick and roll with Boozer and Coward, or Boozer and Wells or Jerome. It needs to be an offense that thinks outside the box. If they like, and I think Asalo is a really good coach for that specifically. I'm just like, I was so frustrated by what he did with Jaren and Ja that he's got to show me that he can make the most of the talent that he has.
Hayes, you said that you think this team is going to trade Jeremy Grant. They got to make a move. It just feels like they have a lot of front court players and not a ton of depth in the backcourt. It does feel like they need some sort of roster balance move.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and here's the thing: they're so early on in the rebuild. An imbalanced roster isn't necessarily their biggest concern, but I do think their job should be to start finding more of that balance. The trade deadline is their first checkpoint, right? Like, see who can you move Jeremy Grant? Is he somebody that you've been able to build up his value and move him? And then by the end of the season, you're going into the offseason looking at, kind of better refining that talent around Cam Boozer now to figure out exactly what you need around him. So I think that's the two steps for them this deadline in the offseason.
I don't really agree that they have a roster problem. So if you look at it, guards, Jerome, Clayton, Pippen, Cam Spencer. I pray that D'Angelo Russell does not get minutes here, but maybe Javon Small and Jamal Mashik. Okay. Lots of interchangeability when everybody's out. So that's your 1-2. 3, 4, 5 is all interchangeable here. If you like traditional center, Edey and Stewart, you have two guys who can play traditional center position for 48 minutes a night. Like, you have 48 minutes of play, even if you want to throw in like 5 minutes of small ball, you have enough to get through that. And then everything else is just like switchable forwards. Like, Jalen Wills is a 2-3, Jeremy Grant's a 3-4, Cedric Coward's a 2-3-4, Chris Murray's a 3-4, Gigi Jackson is a 3-4, Omax Prosper is a 3-4-5, Quentin Post is a 4-5. Like, you have the ability to just build like a lot of positional flexibility here, which I think is honestly what you want, because managing the NBA season as it's as much about like, oh, this guy's out, can we replace his skill set as anything.
I do have questions about who's getting into the paint, right? And maybe it's ultimately just entry passes to Edey and Boozer, and maybe that's just what it is ultimately. Like, it's fair to have questions about this roster. They're not, like you said, they're not going to win a ton of games. I think Walter Clayton Jr. might be getting slept on here because he was sort of a throw-in in that Jaren Jackson Jr. trade. I like him.
He looked really good. Oh, again, I tell you, man, Omax Prosper.
I like him too.
That's like a guy that nobody everyone. It took 2 years developing in Dallas under a coach that's not great at development. I loved how he looked last year. Able to hit the corner three, hyper athletic, does a lot of different stuff.
And he was roster crunched out of Dallas after the AD trade, and they just didn't have any room for him.
I don't really know if you ask me what their roster lacks in terms of a skill set, right? And if you go like, well, they don't have any skill set problems, how are they not going to win a bunch of games? It's like, because you have to figure out how to make them work.
Well, I think the skill set problems are obvious. They don't have like a driver of the basketball, right, at that point guard spot. And their shooting is okay. Like, it's not great, but that's it. You know, in terms of the talent, like there's good young talent on this team.
So a lot of this is like, I'm still high on Jalen Wells. Wells had a terrible season last year shooting wise. And again, this is another question of, and even then he came out at 35%, which isn't actually all that bad. He really kind of picked up in the second half of the year. This is on a solo for making him get back into it. Wells is really good. Jalen Wells is really good. Scottie Pippen's really good. Ty Jerome's really good. I think Jerome can break down the defense. I think Cedric Coward can break down the defense. I'm actually not worried about their ability to get into second level. I'm just worried about their ability to actually like keep things together and then also defend.
Yeah, defense could be a little bit of an issue here too. All right. That'll do it for the Memphis Grizzlies Rotation Lab. Thanks so much for listening. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA Daily, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen. We're going to see you back here tomorrow for more Locked On NBA Daily.